Dear, well, whoever is listening, I guess. Who knew finding yourself was so difficult? What does that even mean? Finding yourself? Such a stupid phrase. I was told that audio taping myself would help with that. You know what they say, though. A girl that's stuck in phases is destined to stay stuck in phases for eternity. No one actually says that, I just made that up. You get the point, though. One week, I like one thing. The next week, I'm onto something else. I went through a period 3 years ago of writing literature. Then, for a bit, I thought rock climbing would do it for me until I found out I'm in no way ever gonna be fit enough to do something like that. That's when I discovered drumming. Turns out, I'm actually pretty good at it. For a while, I mainly used the drum lab at college. I kept playing and playing until I could afford my own drum set. I'm a sucker for impulsively buying things, so you could imagine this drum kit was an easy purchase. Apart from aggressively keeping my flat neighbors up at stupid hours in the morning, drumming became a flawless part of my life. Music became my jam, quite literally. And that's when I met 3 of the worst people to have ever graced the face of this planet. Betty Brant, Gloria Gordfield, and Mary Jane Watson. And together, they were a group called the Mary Janes, founded, of course, by Mary Jane Watson herself. MJ was the lead singer, Betty was on bass, and Gloria handled marketing and social media stuff. It's funny, actually. Gloria once told me how the band was once called Murderface before the Mary Janes. Apparently, she said that if they were ever to make it big time, Murderface isn't something you'd want to be associated with. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. They needed a star drummer. Someone who could set the world alight with her flashy-like celebrity persona. I sound like the last person that they'd want, but that is where I came in. During a college sports tournament, there was a stage for halftime shows, and we played back-to-back. Me first, and them second. They arrived 15 minutes early to make sure their equipment worked and everything was in check, while my set was coming to an end. And to cut the story short, they liked what they heard and told me they wanted to talk to me after the show. I casually stuck around and waited until they struck up a conversation with me.
You're Gwen, right?
At first, I didn't know how to approach the situation. No one had ever been impressed by me. Ever. And to be honest with you, I've always been a solo act. However, MJ's give no fucks attitude was something that really gave me the impression that I'd get along with them. Her choice of clothing was always something people would call not socially acceptable, but it was never like she was doing it so people would think she's the shit. She was the shit. Her rash tone was something you had to get over, and you had to ignore if she was rude to people in public. At the end of the day, she'd always compliment my spray-painted high tops, so I liked her. Things developed pretty quickly from there, and before you knew it, I was the lead drummer for the Mary Janes. On our off time, we'd drink, we'd party. They quickly became my best friends. Or at least some of my best friends. There was someone else. The only other friend I'd ever really had. His name was Peter Parker. Peter and I had always been friends in the simple sense of the word, but what we had wasn't normal. We lived on the same apartment block growing up, so saw each other quite regularly. His aunt and uncle were well acquainted with my dad, and that meant that Peter and I started seeing each other more often. He'd always wear the latest Mr. Fantastic shirt and his nerdy little rounded glasses with X-Men stickers printed on the side. I know what you're thinking. How were you guys friends? He's a nerdy comic book dork, and I'm, well, me. And no, it's not because opposites attract or any of that corny shit. I mean, it wasn't until we started going to high school that we had something in common. He lost his uncle, and I lost my dad. I don't really like talking about what happened, but it made Peter feel better, and whenever he told me about his uncle, it would give me some sort of peace of mind for a short while. So we kind of became those types of friends that if we ever needed to talk about something, we'd be there for each other. I trusted him, even with my biggest secret. Something that even the MJs didn't know. What is my biggest secret? Wouldn't you like to know? Where do I even start with this? It was at the beginning of college, first or second week, I couldn't quite remember. During this time, I was still figuring out my way around the campus. I decided to take an arts and literature class at the time, so I was looking for my room. However, it proved more difficult than one should imagine. You're probably asking me, couldn't you have just checked your timetable? Yeah, I could have if I didn't lose my phone the night before. Trust me, you don't want to know what happened. It involved a toilet and maybe a tad bit too much alcohol. Come on, it's college. Sue me. Anyway, I couldn't check where my class was, so I roamed aimlessly until I found a room that might have slightly resembled what I was looking for. In hindsight, could I have asked someone where I was meant to be going? Probably, but I hate most people, so that sort of thing was off the cards. Either way, I eventually found myself outside of a classroom that sort of resembled an arty theme inside. I entered, and the lights flickered on. No one was there. Great, I said to myself. I was never going to find this classroom. But just before I could back out of the doorway and continue looking, a man called out to me from the other end of the room. Can I help you? The man said rather concerningly. Sorry, wrong classroom, I replied. Where are you looking to go? The man calmly asked me as he revealed himself from the store cupboard at the back of the room, his face rather grimly crunched to a concerning look. Arts and literature, I replied again. His expression rather confusingly disagreed with me. His cheek twitched and his eyebrows curled. He basically called me an idiot without using words. Arts and literature is on the other side of the campus, he said. Oh, sorry to disturb you, I replied, trying to cut the conversation short so I could go on my way and hopefully never see him again. God, the embarrassment. Anyway, that wasn't the worst thing about this interaction. As soon as I turned to swiftly make my way back out into the hallway, I bumped directly into someone else entering the classroom at that exact moment. They were holding a glass container with a shitload of heavy books placed on top, which covered their face. However, the momentum of my swing towards the door managed to dislodge the glass container from their hands. And before you knew it, yep, that's right, smash! All over the fucking floor. Well done, me. And that's when it dawned upon me. The streaky brown hair, the baggy untailored jeans, the X-Men glasses. It was Peter. Peter, I'm so sorry, I said panickingly. Oh no. This is not good, Peter replied. Why? What was in that container? I said, trying to understand the gravity of the situation. Nothing. It's fine. We'll take it from here, said the man as he rather angrily ushered me out of the door. After being pushed away from the classroom, the door locked behind me. I was frozen. Not because of shock or anything like that, but confusion. I was just so baffled by what had gone on. Your next question. Did I ever find out what was in that glass container? Well, kinda. After a short while, I carried on over to the other side of campus in hopes that I'd actually find my class. You wouldn't believe it, but I actually did. I entered through the front rather sheepishly, trying not to get noticed. My silhouette passed through the projector screen, however, making my presence very known. I sat in the only available seat at the back of the classroom next to a guy that clearly had no sense of personal hygiene. No wonder the seat was empty. I pulled out my textbook and tried to flick through to the page that was currently on the same subject. However, my attention flipped. Something from the corner of my eye was making its way across my arm. I did a double take, to which it had made its way over to my hand, and then guess what? It bit me. Yeah, it fucking bit me. How much worse could that day have gotten? I snatched it with my other hand, whipping it across the other end of the classroom. I hit myself with such force that it attracted the attention of everyone else in the class. I gulped. Fuck, I thought to myself. Suddenly, the idea of it biting me came to a halt. I was stuck focusing on the amount of eyes that were glazed my way. At that point, I decided to get up and just walk out. I was already late, so it was what it was. Who cares at that point, am I right? As I made my way down to the hallway and back to my dorm, it dawned on me. Shit. Was that what was in the glass container? I pondered to myself. However, further pondering had to wait, as a sudden urge of sickness rose over me. I scrambled to the nearest bathroom and, well, I'll spare you the details, but let's just say I'm not eating chicken salad ever again. As you've probably already clocked on by this point, any sort of logical thinking went out the window that day. Instead of getting myself checked out, I headed straight home and to bed. This is the point where I should be narrating about my own funeral because little old me was too stupid enough to realize that I should probably have gone to the ER or, at the very least, the college nurse. But no. I woke the next day fresh as a daisy. And that's not a phrase I use lightly. My legs sprung out of bed and my brain was instantly dialed in. You know when you wake up in the morning and you get that groggy, I don't give a shit feeling? Yeah, well, not that day. I did my usual morning routine. Breakfast, bathroom, makeup. However, as I looked at myself in the mirror, trying not to smudge my mascara, I noticed very defined lines that separated the upper and lower part of my arm. You probably remember how I said I'm not athletic in the slightest. Yeah, you could probably imagine how confused I was. I had muscle definition. It wasn't just my arms, it was my abs, my back, and my legs too. I looked like prime Michael Phelps. As weird as that was, I carried on my day as normal. Class 1, Class 2, and then lunch. Before we continue, I want to point out something very important. The lunch lady at the on-campus barista was a fucking zombie. I don't know what it was. Drugs, lack of sleep, maybe she was an alcoholic, who knows? Either way, you couldn't have a conversation longer than 2 sentences with her before it became confusing. Anyway, I approached the counter, ready for her to take my order. I ordered a black coffee and 2 mighty meatballs. Listen, don't judge, I was hungry that day. However, when the lunch lady laid my coffee down in front of me, she completely misjudged the placement and half of it was hanging off the countertop. It was a disaster waiting to happen. But that's when it happened. A tingling sensation in my head. The only thing I could compare it to was that pounding force of a hangover headache. Only this wasn't sickening. Whatever it was trying to get my attention. Sure thing, next thing I know, the coffee that was half hung off the side of the counter slipped fully, hurtling towards the floor. I'll spare you the every second felt like a minute description and cut to the chase. I caught it. The cup was firmly gripped in the palm of my hand. Nice reflexes, another customer said from behind me. So what? You caught a fucking coffee cup. Well done. I know, I thought the same thing at first. I shrugged it off as I paid the lunch lady and took my food outside. I sat down on the bench just opposite the college field. I tried to put my coffee on a short table beside me, but for some reason it wouldn't budge. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't let go. I gripped the other side of the coffee with my other hand and tried to yank it away from myself. Shit, I'm stuck, I said disappointingly to myself as it became very apparent that my other hand was now stuck to the coffee cup as well. I locked eyes with several people who walked past me, who casually gave me the "what the fuck are you doing" look. Yeah, I was really sat there with both my hands stuck to a coffee cup. Am I going insane? Is this a fever dream? This is definitely a fever dream, I would think to myself, along with an array of other things. I thought to myself by that point that I had to just embrace the fact that I looked like an idiot, and if I was to break free, I had to pry this cup from my bare hands. With all my might, I got up and swung my hands to the left of me with such force that the cup did end up releasing. However, the most embarrassing part was that my coffee is now sprayed up the side of a tree. But that wasn't my main concern. What is going on? I would think to myself. I thought, maybe I'm just going crazy. I don't know. I tried to eat my mighty meatballs when, once again, the wrapper stuck to me like impenetrable glue. I was sticky. Like, really fucking sticky. Everything I touched just wouldn't allow me to let go. I was beginning to get really frustrated, but I couldn't tell anyone. They'd think I'm mental. There was only one way to test what was going on. I made my way to a back alley of the college, a place where no one could see me. Now, what you're about to hear sounds really, really dumb, so stay with me here. I outstretched my arm, my fingers spread like wings to meet the surface of a dirty brick wall. I took a gasping breath as I extended my other arm and placed my second hand on the same collection of bricks. With a moment of hesitation, I pulled. Effortlessly, I felt myself climb as my feet naturally managed to scale my body further up. And before you knew it, I was halfway up the wall. And I wasn't falling. The abs, the tingling, the stickiness. No fucking way, I whispered underneath my breath in disbelief. My name's Gwen Stacy. and I have superpowers. Pretty fucking weird, right?